Hey everyone, welcome to the live stream today. It's always great to be here on a Monday. It is an absolutely gorgeous day today, around 80 degrees. Actually, maybe a little bit, even a little bit cooler than that, maybe around 75 degrees. And I'm hearing from some of you in the chat that it's warming up, but others of you are still in winter time. So someone said, will winter just go away? And I am sending some Southern California warmth your way. We are heating up here in the garden, getting things planted. And I totally missed that yesterday was National Garden Day. I don't know how I missed that, but hopefully a lot of you were able to get outside, get some things planted. I know I cleaned up my containers on the deck here yesterday and got some things planted as well. So welcome, super glad that you all are here, and there's people here watching from all over the world. We have Healing Berry Garden watching from Germany. Welcome, and I know there's a couple of people watching from Canada. Someone was in the chat here watching from Denmark. I'm so sorry, I can't remember your name there, but welcome. We were chatting ahead of time here in the chat. Patsella is watching. Luz is listening in her car as she's driving. So what a great time. Today I am so excited. We're going to be talking about composting. So if you have been reluctant to get started composting, you're not sure how, I know when you're first starting out, it can be very intimidating. I know exactly how you feel. I started composting about 8 years ago, and I was actually scared to death to do it. My sister was the one who said, hey, it's not that bad. Here's what you do. So we're gonna talk about it today, guys, and it's definitely possible to do it even if you're only gardening on a patio, a deck, or a balcony. You can do it too. It adds great organic nutrients to your soil and is absolutely free because you can use materials that you already have around your house. So we're going to get started with that in just a moment. I did want to make a couple of announcements. We will not be live streaming next week due to the Easter holiday. A lot of people are on spring break, off school, or traveling, so we're going to take a little break next Monday, which I believe is April, is it the 22nd? I think it's the day after Easter, and then we will resume again in 2 weeks. So no live stream next week, resume again in 2 weeks. So I hope you guys have a great Easter and a great spring break if you're on spring break, if your kids are on spring break this week or next week. The second thing I wanted to bring up is today is the official start of the Beefsteak Tomato Challenge. Now, if you watched any of that from last year, what we did is Gary at the Rusted Garden challenged me to see who could grow the biggest beefsteak tomato, and I know a lot of you followed along. Well, this year, it's the official contest will be with Gary, myself, and Jess from Roots and Refuge. I know a lot of you watch her channel as well. She has a great homesteading channel, does a lot of videos with her gardening with her kids, with her animals. So if you haven't checked out her channel, please check it out. But we're also opening up the contest to viewers from all over the world. So please check out the guidelines. They're over on the Gardening Coast to Coast Facebook group. And I'm actually running a little bit behind because today is the official start and I have not yet planted my seed. So I'm hoping to do that in the next week or so. I'm going to be planting a beefsteak tomato seed for the contest. And if you're looking for seeds, I do have that beefsteak tomato seed in my tomato seed collection on my website. You can pick some up and join us. It's going to be a ton of fun, and it's all in fun. And I'm seeing some comments in the chat that people have already started their seeds. Cindy in the Sky, yes, you should definitely join Cindy in the Sky. And someone said Cindy, they're 5 inches tall. So I would love to have you guys join me. It is going to be so much fun. Jack has started his already. All kinds of people are going to be jumping in on this. It's just going to be a ball. So make sure you guys jump in. Okay, Rod, can you post the rules somewhere other than Facebook? I will try and post them on YouTube stories as well, and I'll probably post a general guidelines on Instagram too. It won't maybe be quite as in depth. So if you don't have Facebook or don't use Facebook, try and check all of my social medias to see where you can get the rules. So let's jump into composting, guys. I am so excited. I love to compost. It is one of the most, the best things you can use for your garden. We gardeners like to call it black gold. And if you've ever composted before, you know how much it does for your garden. It's absolutely amazing. And the great thing about it is absolutely free. You can compost using kitchen scraps, garden scraps, shredded leaves, straw, all kinds of different things you can throw in your compost pile. You don't have to spend money to do it, and your garden will absolutely love it. So let's jump into the very first tip. The first tip is start small. You don't have to build a big, huge 3 foot tall pile. You don't have to even build a frame or a compost bin. I would encourage you, if it's your very first time, start small. And one of my favorite ways to compost, because absolutely anyone can do it, is in a 5-gallon container. So no matter how much space you have or how little space you have, you can compost. And if you guys followed along with the Small Space Garden series last year, you know I posted a video on how to compost in a 5-gallon container. So you definitely want to go back and watch that video, because it's gonna help you get started, and it's super quick and simple to do it. So I like to compost in my little 5-gallon CaliKim Smart Pots. You can see here it's super small. It doesn't take up any room at all. You could also use a 5-gallon bucket. You can use an old pot that you might have sitting around. One reason why I do love these little containers for composting especially is because they're fabric, and the fabric is breathable, and they are aerated. So one thing compost needs to break down is air. And one reason why these containers do break down relatively quickly is because they're breathable. So the airflow gets in, and it really helps the compost break down quicker. So again, don't feel like you have to make a big, huge pile. You can start small in a container right on your balcony, or you can just pile things up in a corner of your yard. So start small, keep it simple, and don't make it overly complicated. So that is the very first tip. All right, guys. So we're gonna I'm gonna cover what materials to use in just a moment. But before I do that, let's head into the chat. There's tons of comments and questions absolutely flying by, and I will try and get to as many as I can in the short time that we have. So if you are composting in a small container, please put a comment in the chat or a question, and I would love to hear more about it. Okay, Half Acre Dreams, thinking about buying some of those containers. Very cool. Yeah, they are so handy, guys. And I did forget to mention that this particular 5-gallon container I do carry on my website, CaliKimGardenandHome.com. You can buy them in a 1-pack or a 3-pack. The 3-pack is great because you can have one for composting and a couple for planting. They're super handy to plant or to have around your garden to compost. So you can head over and pick one up if you're interested in that. Okay, question here from Braden. And oh, Braden, I'm going to cover this in just a second, okay? Would you use dry leaves in a compost heap or rather as mulch? So I'll cover any questions about materials to use in just a second. Okay, here's a question or a comment from Shirley. I compost vermiculture, which is worm composting, for those of you that aren't aware of that, in old washing machine tubs. Oh my gosh, I love that. It's easy to repurpose and to reuse. Yes, just reuse and repurpose whatever you have around your house. No need to spend a ton of money on fancy composters. You can if you want to. Those actually work well too. And if you want to compost in a larger size fabric container, Smart Pots does have a very large compost sack. And you can check out my videos on how I build a compost pile in that. And those, I don't even know what size they are. They might even be like 30 or 40 gallons. They're quite large. It's nice because they do keep everything all contained. They're very neat. They even have a cover that can go over it. So those are pretty handy, and they're very reasonable as well. And those you can pick up at smartpots.com. And then you can use my code for a CaliKim for a discount. Okay, we are going to jump into the next tip because I see so many questions about what types of materials to include in your compost. Oh my gosh, I forgot, guys, at the beginning to do the viewer of the week. So let's pop that in here in the middle. I completely forgot about that. Our viewer of the week this week, her name is Patty Scansella. So she left a wonderful comment that I absolutely love, and I believe it was from the thinning carrots and radishes video we did in the kids garden midweek last week. And her comment was, hi guys, what a great harvest. So in that video, the boys, we thinned and harvested some radishes, and the boys had their first salad of thinnings and radishes, so it was great. So she said, "Hi guys, what a great harvest. You boys are doing a great job growing your own veggies. Here in Pennsylvania, my second grade class garden is struggling with up and down temperatures, but we are beginning to see our growth. Hopefully we are making a salad soon. Keep up the good work." So I love, I've been in touch with Patty, and she is teaching her second graders how to grow vegetables. They're using the kids garden seed collection and a couple of the Purple Calicum Smart Pots, and she's been emailing me pictures, and they are out there planting and growing and just having a great time. So it's wonderful. The kids are learning all about growing vegetables. So I just want to congratulate her and say kudos to you, Patty. Wonderful job teaching your second graders to grow veggies, and they are having a ball. So absolutely love how they're struggling, but they're still pushing through. So nice job, Patty. Okay, back to the composting tips here, guys. Let's talk about what to add to your compost. Now, you can start small, like I mentioned, which is a great idea, or you can start large. Either way, you're going to be adding certain things to your compost, and you don't want to add certain things to your compost. So the types of things that you would want to add are any of your kitchen scraps. And what I like to do to make it really easy and doable is keep a little tub. This is my little ice cream container tub that I keep under my kitchen sink. And I have kitchen scraps in the kitchen, I just throw them right under there. And in here, okay guys, this doesn't look that pretty, but these are some eggshells you can see in here. I've got some old salad that wasn't any good anymore. I've got some banana peels, some nasturtiums that I picked that were kind of wilting. Coffee grounds, pretty much anything that you would use in your kitchen that's a plant-based material. You do not want to use meat or dairy products, but like banana peels. Some people say don't use citrus. I've always used citrus in my compost and never had a problem with it, but this is a good little mix. We eat a lot of bananas, so we always have tons of banana peels in our compost pile. You can also use your garden waste that you might be pulling out your old plants. You can use that in your compost pile. You don't want to use plants that are diseased. I don't like to throw weeds in my compost if I'm doing a cold compost pile, because then the weed seeds might get into the rest of my garden. So just a few little tips on what to use. So no milk or dairy, no meat products, but use all your kitchen scraps and your garden waste. You can also use like brown paper sacks, the cardboard from your egg cartons. You can use a little packing material, like the brown packing material that you might get in your Amazon boxes. If you're like me, I order a ton of stuff on Amazon. So you can shred that up and use that in your compost pile as well. So the first thing you want to do is just gather together the scraps and the materials that you want to use. Now, I did see a comment in the chat ahead of time, or maybe it was, yeah, I think it was ahead of time, that once your compost pile is full, what do you do with all the other kitchen scraps that you're collecting? Well, a little tip is that you can also, if you don't have room in your pile right now, you're not ready to make your pile, you can actually bag these up and put them in the freezer. So I do like to double bag them, because that way they don't smell. I mean, these are already starting to break down a little bit. That way they don't smell up your freezer. And then put like a little box of baking soda in your freezer to absorb any odors that might come out. So if you have an extra freezer, then that is also a great option. Okay, so first of all, you want to start small. Second of all, you want to start collecting your food scraps. And, oh, I see Johnny is on here. Thank you, Johnny. Johnny Maserati, I think that's how you say your name, just super chatted $3.99. Johnny, thank you so much. Johnny is a longtime supporter of our channel, longtime viewer, and I really appreciate your support, Johnny. Thank you so much for following along, and I appreciate you being here. So if you're not familiar with Super Chat, you can click the button on your desktop or your laptop. It's the $ at the bottom of the chat to support us and to donate to our channel. So I really appreciate that. Okay, I do see a question here. Yes, they'll smell even if frozen. Yeah, I have had a problem with that too. So make sure that you either you have an extra freezer just for that, but not many people have an extra freezer just for that, or you definitely put some baking soda to absorb the odor. So definitely do be careful with that. It might not be the thing for everybody to do. Okay, I saw a question, I think it was from Braden, about can you use grass clippings in your compost? Yes, you definitely can. I've done that many times. My preference is to use grass clippings only when I'm doing a hot compost pile. And a hot compost pile basically is a large compost pile that heats up and it kills any like weed seeds or any other things that you might not want growing in your compost once you get out in the garden. My grass is not good. It has tons of weeds in it, so I usually only use them if I'm doing a hot compost pile. Okay, so let's see if there's any other questions here in the chat before we go into our third tip here. Yes, and if you're using grass clippings, I would definitely recommend only not using them if you're fertilizing your grass with an inorganic fertilizer, like a weed killer or whatever. I fertilize my grass with an organic fertilizer, so it's perfectly fine. But do definitely be careful about that. And great tip here from Santa Ana Road Wildman. I love this. Coffee shops will sometimes give free bag or give used coffee grounds for free. Yes, I've gotten many a bag of coffee grounds from Starbucks. They give these big old bags and they are great to throw in your compost pile. Okay, let me answer one more question in the chat here and see if, let's see, there's any other questions. Here's one from Zenith. Hi Kim, I compost in a bucket and it creates a lot of moisture to a point where I have to drain the liquid. Is this normal? Yes, it is normal. What you might want to do is poke some holes in your bucket, because not only will your compost need aeration and airflow, but that will help drain out the extra liquid, because you do not want it getting too terribly soggy or it's going to start to smell. Okay, let's dig into our third tip here. First of all, you want to start small if you're just starting. Second of all, gather together your materials. Now, the third tip for really getting your compost to break down very, very quickly, especially if you're using one of these small 5-gallon containers or a small space, is, okay, and look at this compost in here, guys. I didn't even show this to you. This is absolutely beautiful compost. Oh, it smells absolutely earthy, which is how compost should smell. It should not smell badly. When it's finished, it smells nice and earthy like dirt, and this is absolutely beautiful. You guys can see that in there. It's gorgeous compost. Oh, I absolutely love it. So if you're composting in a small space, what I like to do, this might sound strange, is blend up my food scraps, okay? Go back and watch my composting in a small space video, and I showed it in that video. I took my little pile of food scraps, put it in the blender, and pretty much just pureed it. And the reason for that is, if you want your compost to break down quickly, these food scraps need to be as small as possible to hasten up, is that a word? To make the breakdown process go quicker. Because once you start to compost, there's little tiny microbes in here that are going to be breaking down the food scraps. That's what makes it, turns it into compost. So the smaller you start with, the quicker your pile will break down. And that's why in a small compost 5-gallon container like this one, you can get your compost to break down in about 6 to 8 weeks, as long as you start with very, very small food scraps. So I totally recommend a blender. If you don't have a blender, you can certainly chop your food scraps or cut them up with scissors or whatever you want to do to get them nice and small, but definitely the smaller the better. The compost in the 5-gallon sacks will break down in about 6 to 8 weeks. Number one, because they're fabric. Number two, because I blended the food scraps. So definitely try that. So first tip, start small. Second tip, collect your food scraps. Third tip, chop them up super small, or better yet, put them in a blender or a juicer. I love that. Your comment just scrolled by. Team Julie against ovarian cancer. Yes, also use a juicer. That's a great idea, because that will pretty much pulverize it too. Okay, and I do see some questions flying by here. Let me see here. About compost. Steph 23, if I use a small fabric container, I will need a lid as I have a lot of squirrels. Okay, yes, I do recommend using a lid. That's what I like to do personally, because it does keep the squirrels out. It also, and if you go back and watch that video on composting in a small space, Nikki's a super chat. Thank you, Nikki's Drama Greenhouse, for $2. Thank you so much, Nikki. Love your channel and applying tips to my New York City garden. That is amazing. I know there is not much space. You're watching the Small Space series and learning some good things from that. Nikki, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. Thank you. Okay, as I was saying, I do like to cover it because what I do, keep it super simple. All I do is I just clip a piece of plastic on here. So I have like the heavy duty plastic and a couple of little clips. I don't have any right here with me, I don't think. I just keep it simple, cover it up, clip it on, so it does help keep the rodents out, and then it will heat your compost up just a little bit more to help it break down even quicker. So what you want to do for sure, guys, is go and watch my my compost. It's composting from start to finish, and it's a whole compilation video I did, and that will give you all the tips and tricks on building a compost pile in a larger bin. And for the smaller one, watch the video on composting in a small container. I show exactly how I layer things. So basically what I do in the small containers is I layer the bottom with some brown materials, which is like shredded newspaper, shredded cardboard, shredded leaves work great. And then I layer the food scraps in between the layers of brown materials. The food scraps are considered green materials. So you want to have about a 3-to-1 ratio. 3 parts brown and 1 part green. So go back and watch those videos for more information on that, and then cover it up, put it in the sun, which will help it heat up just a little bit more. So hopefully those tips are helpful for you. Let's see what else is in the chat here. Okay, Christy, thank you for posting the link there, how to compost from start to finish. Guys, it is really not as difficult as you think. I really encourage you to dig right in and give it a go. And you know what? What do you have to lose? It's all free materials, and you're gonna have some beautiful garden gold for your garden. Okay, let's see here. The other questions, let me scroll through here in the chat. Okay, have you ever used, this is from Carrie, have you ever used shredded cardboard in your compost pile? And if so, does it break down as quickly as the other things? I have used shredded cardboard before, and it does not break down as quickly just because it's thicker. You can get it into small pieces and cut it up, but it is thicker, so it does take a little bit longer to break down. What I used in the compost video, the small space compost video, is I used the packing material that you might get in boxes that you receive from Amazon. It's very thin, and you can get it in nice small pieces, and it does break down really quickly, especially if you kind of soak it and wet it before you get it in there. It'll just kind of shred apart and really break down quicker. Okay, Diane got her microgreen seed collection. Thank you so much. That's great. Thank you so much for ordering. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Okay, let's dig into my 4th tip. I guess I said I was going to do 3 tips, but I think I have 4 or 5 actually, so I've got a few bonus ones in there. The tip number 3 is to make sure that you turn your compost pile, all right? So whether you're doing a big pile that you've got piled up or in the ground, or a little container, what you want to do is get in here a couple of times a week and just stir it around with your hand or turn it over with a shovel. And that way it provides additional airflow, because compost needs 2 things. It needs airflow and it needs moisture. So you're going to be checking it a couple of times a week to make sure it hasn't dried out. Now this is finished compost, so it is a little bit dry, but you want it to be about the moisture of a wrung out sponge. So if you squeeze your compost and you see tons of moisture just coming right out of it, it means that it's too wet. So you can add in some additional brown material, some additional shredded paper. I love to use the shredded leaves. If it's too dry, you want to water it and make sure that it is just barely moist. And then turn it around, get it nice and aerated, and that way it has the air and the moisture that it needs to break down. So you're gonna start with your blended up food scraps, you're gonna layer, and then you're gonna come out and you're gonna cover, put it in the sun, and you're gonna come out a couple of times a week and turn it, all right? And make sure that it's moist enough. So super simple, guys. I want everyone here to try composting, whether you're doing it in one of the 5-gallon smart pots, 5-gallon bucket with some holes poked in it, or whether you have a big huge pile in a corner of your garden somewhere. Okay, so let's see if there's any other questions in the chat here. Things are flying by. From Leanne here, my kids love gardening. They are excited to see all the vegetables growing already in the house. The weather here in Regina, Sacs is still cool. Then it's a perfect time to plant those cool weather vegetables. And I'm not sure if you're gardening with the Kids Garden series, but the Kids Garden, but I did want to just show you guys here a couple of things. These, we're gonna actually fertilize these in just a moment with compost, but these are the Tiny Tim tomatoes, and guys, I absolutely love these. If you have a small space, like the one, the viewer who is watching from New York City, these are amazing little tomatoes. They're growing here in one of the Cali Kim 5-gallon smart pots. They only grow to about 1 foot or 2 tall, and they're super productive. These are already putting on tomatoes. They are such a tasty little garden snack, and these are in the small space seed collection. So I have designed a container-friendly seed collection, especially for people growing in a small space. You can check out that garden series that we did last year, but they're all container-friendly varieties, and that's one thing. If you're growing in a small space, that's really helpful is if you pick vegetables that are compact and container friendly. And right back here we have the Kids Garden seed collection. We have some beautiful price head lettuce that I think is going to be bolting soon because it's been in here for a little while. We've been harvesting it, starting to go to seed, or I mean to starting to bolt a little bit. And we've got here some Royal Burgundy bush beans, which are starting to put on some little flowers. And I just planted some more bush bean seeds around the edges yesterday. So if you are gardening with kids, the Kids Garden Seed Collection is especially designed for gardening with kids. Beautiful, colorful vegetables that grow quickly and that kids will absolutely love. And all the kids that have been growing with the purple smart pots absolutely love having their own little space. So all these you can pick up over at CaliKimGardeningHome.com. Okay guys, let's see what other comments are here. Jean Marie, thank you so much. I'm following all your tips for the first time and I'm gardening properly. I'm so excited about that, guys. It is just so fun to see people that are starting to grow for the very first time. A lot of people might not think they can do it, and then they dig in and they see that growing your own food is not near as difficult as you think. So kudos to you. I'm super proud of you. All right, one last question here before we dig into how do I use compost in my garden. Oh, Irene, hi, my Tiny Tim tomato is flowering in your smart pot. That's awesome, Irene. Aren't they so much fun? I absolutely love them. Okay, is it possible to grow Tiny Tim tomatoes in a container indoors with or without a grow light? Okay, yes, Diane, it is. I actually started this one indoors. It was inside for quite some time. I believe I started it, it might have even been in November, and it grew indoors under a grow light, started to produce little flowers and little tomatoes, and as soon as the weather got warm enough, it probably has been outside now for about 2 to maybe 3 weeks or so, and it's just starting to, the tomatoes are starting to ripen up. So yeah, you can definitely do it. I would recommend a grow light. I just don't feel like sunny windows tend to give plants quite enough light. They need that direct overhead light, and you can very easily and inexpensively set one up, and I've got videos that you can watch. So Tony, I do have a great grow light video, 3 easy setups, so you can go and check my YouTube channel for that, and that'll really help you get some grow light set up and get your veggies growing very, very quickly. Okay. Let's dig into how to use compost on your garden. And it is so easy, guys. Super, super easy. This compost is pretty much completely broken down. It's finished when you don't see, oh, there goes my little tripod my phone is on, is starting to fall over here. It's broken down when you don't see any chunks of, you know, like your food scraps anymore. So you can see how nice and rich and dark this is. I definitely do have some pieces of leaves in here, which is absolutely fine. I use leaves in this compost, and they're great to add to your garden bed. They bring in the worms like crazy. If you see big, huge chunks of food in here, it's not quite broken down yet and needs to compost a little bit longer. But it's so easy to use on your garden beds or your containers, and I highly recommend it. So all you need to do is, I'm going to grab a little handful here and see if I can get this on camera and hold my phone at the same time. So I'm gonna grab a little handful here, and all I'm gonna do is put a little handful, hopefully you guys can see this, around the base of my plant. And it's so easy, just put it around the base of your plant. I'm gonna kind of rub it in my plant or kind of scratch it into the soil, and you can do the same thing on your garden bed. You can do it around the base of your plants, or you can do it all over your entire garden bed, depending on how much compost you have. And then I'm gonna water it in. I'm not gonna water it right now in the video, but I'm gonna take my watering can or turn on my drip irrigation and just soak it down in, and that way the compost gets all the way to the roots. So super, super easy to do, guys. And I will do this on my containers maybe about once a month or so. You can do it once a week if you want to. And on my garden beds, maybe a couple of times during the growing season. And it's going to be absolutely wonderful for your plants and really give them a great boost. It's great to do when your plants first start flowering, because that's when the fruits are going to start growing, and so it gives them that little boost that they need to really start producing well for you. I'm sorry guys, my tripod for my phone keeps collapsing, so I'm watching it slowly slide down. So I have had some questions lately about, will compost burn my plants? Now, as long as you're using compost that is mostly finished like this one, it won't burn your plants. If you're using compost with manure, it does tend to be a little bit hotter. And it can burn your plants. So, whoops, I tend to not use manure. I don't really have a good manure source available to me. So some of you might have a little bit more experience than that use chicken manure or cow manure in your compost pile. So if you could pop some comments in the chat about that, that would be great. But I know that when you're using manure, it does have to be broken down pretty well completely, or it can burn your plants. So I would love to hear what experiences you all have with that. But I have never had a problem with compost burning my plants. I pretty much have the same formula. I use the food scraps, the coffee grounds, the shredded leaves, and I haven't ever had a problem with that. So if you had a problem with it, let me know, but it's worked really, really well for me. Okay, let's see guys, hopefully all those tips have helped you and you're able to get compost started in your garden. Highly encourage it. It's a lot of fun, and it's amazing to use something that is normally trash and turn it into something you can use for your garden. So it's really a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy the process and also feel good that you are not contributing more to the landfill. You're breaking down your trash and putting it on your garden. And we have another super chat. Team Julie against ovarian cancer. Thank you so much. Super chat for $4.99. First time on your live. Wow, that's exciting. I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you for joining us. Other than Trifecta, what strictly organic non-animal products fertilizer do you suggest? I also use on my garden organic fertilizer, Good Dirt. And I don't know about the non-animal part. I have not looked that carefully at the ingredients, but it is organic. It works amazing. It comes in a liquid form, and it comes in a little thing you can hook right to your hose, or you can use the squirt bottle the pump bottle that you put right into your containers. You can get that at gooddirt.org. Christy, if you can post that in the chat, that would be great. But it is wonderful. Absolutely takes off. Also, the Vermistera worm tea is amazing. It comes from worm castings, and it does incredible. It's a very mild fertilizer, very gentle. Use it all over my garden, used it for years, and absolutely love it. So I am seeing some comments. So Julie, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate your support. Fish fertilizer stinks? Yes, it does. Okay. Normally in Puerto Rico, we let manure compost for 6 months to a year, depending if it's cow manure, horse manure, or chicken manure. And that was from Patsy Vergara. So Patsy, thank you so much for that information. I know you do have to let it break down for quite a while before it's safe to use on your garden. So I appreciate you commenting on that. So I'd love to hear if anyone else has any other experiences that they'd like to share about composting and how it's worked well for you in the garden. Okay, here's a question from Sandra. I don't know if Kim has answered, but if anyone knows, I don't have leaves or twigs for compost. What else can I use instead? Okay, Sandra, that's a great question because a lot of people don't have access to shredded leaves. You can use brown cardboard, you can use newspaper, you can use the packing material from boxes that you might get in the mail. You can use grass clippings that are dried out for a hot compost pile. If anyone else has any other suggestions of things you've used before, if you don't have access to tree materials, I would love to hear about it as well. So there's lots of other options out there for you. Okay, rabbit manure can be used immediately. Wonderful. Thank you so much for putting that out there. Christy put the link for Good Dirt in the comments. Thank you so much, Christy. And you can also use my code, which is CallieKim10 over at gooddirt.com if you want to pick up some of their supplies. So this tripod's driving me crazy. Sorry, guys. Okay, I think I need a new one. Oh, yes, here's a great one, Rachel. The roll from toilet paper and paper towel rolls are good to use. That's perfect. Something you would throw away, and now the wind's picking up, so hopefully my tripod doesn't completely fall over. Yeah, that's a great thing too. And you know what? I've also put paper towels in my compost as well. And another super chat here from Diane. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna hold this tripod. From Diane, thanks for all your help. I enjoy your videos, even though I no longer have an outdoor garden. I will be experimenting with the growing in my apartment. Diane, thank you so much for your support, and I am so glad that you're on the live stream today, and also very glad that you're still gardening. You have that determination. That's wonderful. There's a lot you can grow indoors, and hopefully you're able to use some of the tips from the indoor gardening series to help you out. So thank you so much. Okay, I saw a question here I wanted to answer about rodents in the compost and bugs. So someone asked, do you get rodents in your compost pile? What I do to help protect against rodents, yes, we have had rodents in there, but what I try and do that helps is I mix in well, number one, chop up things as small as you can. Number two, cover your compost with a plastic or some type of cover. Number three is I like to mix in the brand new food scraps that I just add to my larger compost pile, cover them up with shredded leaves, mix them in to kind of help mask the smell of the food scraps. So that definitely does help with the bugs as well if you get those fruit flies or whatever on your compost pile. So give that a try. It's not an absolute foolproof method, or you can also compost in a closed container like a compost bin of some kind to help keep the rodents out if that's a big problem where you live. So hopefully that'll help that. Okay, lots of lettuce doesn't need full sun. Okay, so let me see if there's any other questions here in the chat. We're coming to the end of our live stream here. And let's see, can I use grass clippings if I have a backyard dog? That's a good question. Gosh, I don't know if someone else could answer that question for me. I know dog waste is definitely something you don't want to add to your compost pile. Maybe it depends where your dog goes, if they go in one certain area or if they go all over your yard. Maybe someone else can help with that question as well. It's definitely not something you want to physically add to your compost pile. But as far as if your grass clippings are contaminated, I'm not sure about that. So anyone who can help out, that would be great. Okay, another super chat here, you guys. This is amazing. Thank you so much. From Richard Barksdale, $5. Thank you so much, Richard. I really do appreciate it. Camera guy and I love the fact that you're on here, are watching our videos, and are supportive of the gardening content that we're putting out. So really do appreciate that, guys. Okay, let's see. I don't use grass where my dog goes. Okay, Nora, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Peppers are good to keep dogs away. Yeah, they sure don't like the taste of those hot peppers, do they? So let me see if there's any other questions. Will there be a repeat? Yes, let me just tell you how the live stream works, guys. What happens is after I'm done live streaming, it does upload to YouTube. So if you missed the first part of the video, you can go back and watch the chat, watch it again. It does also replay the chat, which is a lot of fun because a lot of the positive benefits from the live stream come from all the interaction. We're building a really great community here, and when you go back and watch the replay, you can also get the chat replay as well. So that's also very great. I really do apologize about the problems I'm having with my tripod today here, guys. Sorry about that. Okay, question here. Is it too late to plant seeds? No, it's never too late to get your garden going. Here in California, I actually just started some new tomato seeds, some new squash seeds, some flower seeds. I'm always planting something. You can definitely get started. I love to get seeds started indoors, but when it gets warm enough, you can get things started right on your garden, like cucumbers and squash and beans grow super fast. So go back and watch the Spring Garden series, and you're gonna get lots of information about all kinds of things that you can plant in your garden. So guys, we're gonna bring this live stream to a close. Remember, there's not gonna be a live stream next Monday. We'll pick up again in 2 weeks. This weekend we'll have another new video. And if you are wanting to get started in a small space, compost in these wonderful 5-gallon Cali Kim Smart Pots, you can pick them up on my website along with seeds. And that's calikimgardenhome.com. And I'm so happy that you joined me here today. Really looking forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks and on the video this weekend. So guys, thanks so much for joining me. We'll see you later. And thank you to all of you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all your support.